I gazed at the peanut butter and jelly sandwich tucked inside my lunchbox, my stomach twisting with dread. At 13, I'd grown accustomed to scrutinizing every item my mom packed for me. But today, she spotted me trying to toss the sandwich out. "Maya, eat your food," she'd barked, thrusting the lunchbox back into my grip. "This peanut allergy nonsense has gone on long enough. Your brother eats peanut butter daily, and he's perfectly fine." That summed up my existence. Everything was fine, because my flawless older brother, Marcus, was fine. My allergies? Just a ploy for attention. My EpiPen prescription? A pointless expense Mom refused to cover. The medical alert bracelet my doctor gave me? Conveniently lost during laundry. Now, sitting in the bustling school cafeteria, I nudged the sandwich aside and checked my phone. 20 minutes until English class. I could skip eating and be okay. "Hey, weirdo." Marcus's voice thundered across the room. A junior and the star quarterback, he strutted to my table, smirking as always. "Mom told me about your little stunt this morning." I sank lower in my seat as his friends closed in. Being Marcus's younger sister meant living in his shadow, with no quiet corner to escape to. "You know what?" He snatched my lunchbox. "Mom's right. Time to drop this allergy act." My pulse quickened. "Marcus, please," I murmured. "Open up, sis," he taunted, unwrapping the sandwich as his friends chuckled, forming a ring around us. "One bite. Prove you're not faking." "I'm not faking," I said, trying to stand, but someone shoved me back down. "I have a real allergy. The doctor confirmed it." Marcus scoffed. "The doctor said what you paid him to say. Always wanting to be the special one. Huh, Maya? Poor, fragile Maya." Mrs. Bennett, the lunch monitor, glanced over but quickly turned away. Nobody ever challenged Marcus, the school's golden child. I was just his oddball sister, spinning tales for attention. "One bite," Marcus pressed, holding the sandwich close to my face, "or I'll tell Mom you threw it out again. Remember last time?" I did. 2 weeks grounded, no phone, no computer. "Making up stories for attention shows a lack of gratitude," Dad had scolded. "Please," I whispered, my throat tightening from the peanut butter's smell alone. "I'll get sick, Marcus." "Drama queen," someone jeered from the crowd. Marcus's grin widened. "Look, she's already acting like she can't breathe." But I wasn't acting. The peanut butter was too close, and my chest felt constricted. I tried to pull away, but hands pinned me down. "Eat it," Marcus urged, pressing the sandwich against my lips. In my panic, I gasped, and a tiny crumb slipped into my mouth. I spat it out instantly, but the familiar, terrifying sensation of my throat closing had already begun. "See? Nothing happened," Marcus proclaimed, victorious. But something was happening. My lips tingled, swelled. The cafeteria lights glared too brightly, the voices roared too loudly. I fumbled for my phone, desperate to call for help. "Oh, come on," Marcus groaned, rolling his eyes. "Stop the act." "I can't," I wheezed, my vision blurring. "Need help, Maya?" A voice cut through the chaos. Sophie Chen, my lab partner, pushed through the crowd. One glance at my face, and she took charge. "She's having an allergic reaction," she yelled. "Someone get the nurse." "She's faking," Marcus insisted, though his tone wavered. Sophie ignored him, pulling an EpiPen from her bag. "I carry a spare," she said quickly. "Hold on, Maya." The last thing I heard before blacking out was Sophie shouting for someone to call 911 and Marcus muttering, "She's just fishing for attention." When I came to, I was in an ambulance, an oxygen mask strapped to my face, paramedics speaking rapidly above me. Words like severe anaphylaxis and potentially fatal floated through the haze. Later, I learned Sophie's quick thinking with the EpiPen likely saved my life. I also discovered the cafeteria security cameras had captured everything, not just my reaction, but the events leading up to it. Those tapes would reveal more than just today's ordeal. They'd expose a pattern that would stun even those who dismissed my cries for help for years. Sometimes, It takes nearly dying for the truth to surface. And my truth was about to unravel in ways my family never anticipated. In the emergency room, as doctors discussed my condition, I realized this wasn't just about allergies anymore. It was about systemic medical neglect, a brother's bullying pushed too far, and a family's denial that had almost killed me. The school principal was already reviewing the footage, and what she found would spark a chain of events that would transform everything. Not just for me, but for my entire family. Sometimes, it takes a disaster to shatter years of denial. And my disaster was now on tape. The hospital room was quiet, save for the steady beeping of monitors, when Principal Davis arrived. My parents had been there earlier, Mom insisting it was just a panic attack until the doctor showed her my blood test results and photos of my swollen throat. They'd left to handle things at home, likely damage control. "Maya," Principal Davis said gently, pulling up a chair, "how are you feeling?" I touched my still puffy throat, thankful for the nurse's ice chips. "Better," I murmured. She nodded, setting a tablet on my bedside table. "We need to discuss what happened today, and what's been happening all year." My heart raced, the monitor beeping faster. "The cafeteria incident prompted us to review security footage," she continued, her expression serious. "We found something troubling. Several incidents, actually." She turned the tablet toward me, showing clips from different days. Marcus tossing peanut M&Ms at my lunch table, his friends accidentally spilling peanut sauce near my food, my brother slipping peanut butter into my drink when I wasn't looking. "This wasn't the first time, was it?" she asked softly. Tears filled my eyes. "Nobody believed me," I whispered. "They said I was making it up." A new voice spoke from the doorway. "Well, we believe you now," said Dr. Harrison, the hospital's child advocacy specialist, entering with a social worker, Ms. Patel. "Your blood tests show repeated exposure to peanut allergens," Dr. Harrison explained, checking my chart. "Small doses over time. That's why today's reaction was so severe. Your body's been battling this for months." Ms. Patel sat beside my bed. "Maya, we spoke with your lab partner, Sophie. She said you've asked your parents for an EpiPen multiple times." I nodded, recalling the ignored prescriptions, the lost allergist referrals, Mom's claims that I was just envious of Marcus's normal life. "Your pediatrician's records show 3 EpiPen prescriptions," Ms. Patel continued. "None were filled. They also documented your mother canceling 2 allergist appointments." Principal Davis touched my hand. "The school was never informed of your allergy. We're required to have medical action plans for students with severe allergies. Your mother told us you were just a fussy eater when we raised concerns about your lunch." The weight of years of dismissal, of being called dramatic, attention-seeking, crashed over me. "Will they make me go home?" I asked, my voice shaking. "No, sweetheart," Dr. Harrison said firmly. "What your family has done is medical neglect, and with evidence of your brother's deliberate actions." She shook her head. "You're not going anywhere until we ensure your safety." Just then, Marcus's loud voice echoed from the hallway. "It was just a prank. She's fine, right?" Principal Davis stood, her expression stern. "Excuse me," she said, stepping out and closing the door. Through it, I caught fragments: suspension, possible criminal charges, pattern of behavior. My mother's voice rose, shrill with disbelief. "Criminal charges? For what?" "She's always been attention-seeking." Ms. Patel pulled out some papers. "Maya, we need to talk about your options. Your aunt in Connecticut has been contacted." Aunt Jenny, Mom's younger sister, whom I hadn't seen in years, not since she tried to tell my parents they were mishandling my condition. "She's waiting for our call," Ms. Patel said, smiling. "She's already making arrangements." Sophie appeared in the doorway, clutching her backpack. Her eyes widened at the adults, but Dr. Harrison waved her in. "I brought your homework," Sophie said, then added, "and my mom made allergen-free cookies." I double-checked everything. For the first time since the cafeteria, I wanted to cry for a good reason. Someone had cared enough to ensure my safety. "Thank you," I whispered. "For everything, the EpiPen." Sophie shrugged. That's what friends do. They trust each other. The contrast between her quiet belief and my family's years of denial hit hard. Outside, Marcus was still protesting, Mom demanding to speak to supervisors, Dad mentioning lawyers. But in this room, surrounded by people who believed me, their voices felt less powerful. Dr. Harrison checked my vitals again. Your body's been through a lot, but you'll be okay, physically at least. She glanced at the door. The rest? That's why we're here. Principal Davis returned, looking weary but resolute. Your brother's been suspended pending further investigation. The school board meets tomorrow to discuss permanent measures. I should have felt fear or sorrow about my family unraveling. Instead, I felt relief. The truth was out, on camera, backed by medical tests. No one could deny it anymore. Sometimes, safety comes from unexpected sources. A friend's spare EpiPen, a principal who reviews footage, doctors who listen. Lying there, surrounded by people working to protect me, I realized this wasn't the end of my story. It was the start of one where my truth finally mattered. 3 months later, I stood in Aunt Jenny's kitchen, carefully checking food labels with her as we made dinner. A new ritual, unlike my old life where such caution was dismissed as paranoia. How was the allergist? She asked, sorting safe ingredients into one pile and setting aside anything suspect. Good, I said, smiling as I touched the medical alert bracelet I now wore with pride. Dr. Patel says my immune system's stabilizing since I'm not constantly exposed anymore. Life since the cafeteria incident had changed dramatically, for the better. Aunt Jenny had gained emergency custody after the hospital. Her Connecticut home, with its focus on my medical needs and peaceful vibe, felt like a breath of fresh air after years of suffocation. My new school had a robust allergy protocol, multiple EpiPens in the nurse's office, teachers trained in anaphylaxis response. My condition was treated as a serious medical issue, not a nuisance or a cry for attention. The court case against my family moved slowly. Marcus had been expelled after the footage revealed the extent of his pranks. He was now at a military academy, Dad's fix for his fallen golden boy. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophie, who I still talked to regularly. She'd become an advocate for allergy awareness at our old school. You won't believe this, her text read. They're mandating allergy training for all staff and students. Your case changed everything. Aunt Jenny saw my smile. Good news. They're making changes, I said, showing her the text. Maybe it'll help other kids like me. Speaking of help, she said cautiously, your mom called again. My hand froze on the carrot I was peeling. Since moving here, I'd gotten countless calls and messages from Mom. First angry, then pleading, now a mix of both. They're in family therapy, Aunt Jenny added. Your mom's therapist thinks you might benefit from a session. When you're ready. When I'm ready, I echoed. Nobody here pressured me, especially about my family. Maybe someday, I said. But not now. Aunt Jenny nodded, always understanding. No hurry. By the way, your art teacher called. She wants to enter your latest piece in a state competition. My art had evolved since moving here. The piece, Invisible Symptoms, was a raw mixed media work about living with a dismissed condition. Nothing like the safe, bland paintings I'd done to avoid attention back home. You know what's strange? I said, resuming my carrot peeling. I haven't had a single panic attack since moving here. Aunt Jenny caught my air quotes. What my parents had labeled anxiety had been allergic reactions all along. Not so strange, she replied. It's amazing how much better you feel when you're not being poisoned. That evening, over our carefully prepared dinner, my phone lit up with a rare text from Marcus. Court rules barred him from contacting me without supervision. I'm sorry, it read. I didn't realize what I was doing to you. I showed it to Aunt Jenny, my go-to for family matters. What do you think? I asked. She paused thoughtfully. I think genuine remorse is possible. But you get to decide what role he plays in your life, if any. That was the biggest shift since the cafeteria. Having control over my choices, especially my health and safety. My new allergist explained that some allergy sufferers develop PTSD from severe reactions, especially when denied proper care. We were addressing that in therapy, along with years of gaslighting about my condition. But there were wins, too. Last week, I'd handled a potential exposure at school calmly, using my emergency plan. My teachers responded swiftly, and it was managed without drama, just proper care for a real condition. Looking at Marcus's text, I replied, "I need time. Maybe one day we can talk with a therapist present." Aunt Jenny squeezed my shoulder. "Look at you, setting healthy boundaries." That night, writing in my journal, another tool my therapist suggested, I reflected on how much had changed. The terrified girl from the cafeteria, voiceless and ignored, was gone. In her place was someone stronger, unafraid to speak her truth. Sometimes, the worst moments become turning points. My near-fatal reaction had exposed a family's denial and abuse, but it had also liberated me. Surrounded by people who believed and protected me, I was learning what true family support felt like. My allergies were just part of me, not a flaw to hide, but a reality to manage, as they always should have been.